back in the 1970s, there was this young guy and young girl for the main characters of the story. And I think they met in college and they go out on this first date. They go to a restaurant, a diner, and they got along fine, but there wasn't any magic. It was, kind of a nothing date that they both kind of instinctively knew that this was likely not going to go anywhere beyond this first date. There's no chemistry. However, they both kind of intuitively noticed it. And the guy, towards the end of the date, when it's kind of like, okay, time to wrap things up now, he decided to take a chance. He figured, what's the worst that can happen? I already can tell this isn't going anywhere. And he says to his date, he says, do you want to do something kind of unexpected? Do you want to go do something kind of crazy with me right now? And the girl was actually kind of taken aback. She's like, okay, what do you want to do? And he's like, well, I oftentimes go for walks out in Provo Canyon, this beautiful canyon that's nearby. It's got this amazing trail. It brings you out to this overlook with this incredible view of the stars. Like, it's a really cool spot. And I go there, later in the day and no one's there. And it's pretty cool, but it's, we're hiking in the woods in the middle of the night. You know what I mean? And she's like, okay, let's do it. It's like suddenly the date went from going nowhere to it's kind of exciting. And so now there's chemistry. That's like they're going into the unknown together. And so they quickly leave the diner, they hop in his car, and it's a short drive over to the parking lot where Provo Canyon is. He pulls into the spot, there's nobody there. They get out, and now there really is. They're getting along, they're kind of laughing, telling jokes, they're holding hands, and they walk right from the parking lot onto this paved trail that goes right into the forest. And so it's nighttime, just this is a well-used trail. This is not some goat trail in the middle of nowhere. This is a well-used trail. And so they start walking into the forest, and after a while, and this is something they would say after the fact, but we know this is what was happening. As they were walking, the feel, the vibe of the night really changed as soon as they got into the woods. They're excited. The dates suddenly become exciting, and then they get into the forest. They're on the trail. They're holding hands. They're walking, and both of them began feeling this really intense dread as they're walking in. But they don't know each other. This is their first date. They don't have the background of a relationship to begin touching on something that's hard to point out. Neither of them turned to the other and said, I feel uncomfortable. Instead, they just kept their mouth shut and thought, okay, I'll just keep on going. So they stopped talking. They begin walking faster out of this kind of nervous energy they have now. They're holding hands and they're just walking through this trail because they're trying to get to this overlook, basically get it out of the way and come on back. But it's all unspoken. They haven't said, boy, this is anxious. They're feeling that way. And so they're walking on this trail, again, surrounded by trees. There's nobody else out there. And it's pretty dark. They don't have a flashlight. And as they're basically speed walking at this point in silence, at some point they hear a rustling sound kind of off to the side. And at the exact same time, the guy steps on something that he described as being soft. And he stepped on it and he has no idea what he's stepping on. No clue. It's something soft. And he's heard this rustling sound and they're feeling anxious. And he immediately stops because he stepped on something. And the girl, she's sensing, okay, what's going on here? And without any communication, they turned and walked out. Didn't even look down. They had no idea what's going on. It was like they both knew, let's get the fuck out of here. I don't know what's going on out here. And they practically ran back to their car, totally safe. They get in their car. And now that they're in the safety of their car, they kind of begin laughing about it. Like, yeah, I wonder what that was. I stepped on something out there. I don't know. Something moving around. Maybe there's a big animal. I don't know. But that was it. That was the whole date. And actually they wound up getting married because this date was like this kind of amazing thing. They bonded over the fear of being in this forest. And so they get married. And 10 years later, they're at home and the TV is on. It's tuned to like a Dateline type of show, like a true crime show. And neither of them are really watching. But an interview comes on and it's a journalist talking to a death row inmate. It's a very famous death row inmate. And he's very near his execution date. And he's giving this kind of full-blown interview about, what he did. And at some point, the journalist asks him, was there ever a time that you almost got caught before you got caught? And the serial killer is like, yeah. There was a time. I was out in Provo Canyon and I just killed a girl and I was trying to dispose of her body. And I dragged her across the trail and this young couple comes turning around the corner and they stepped on the body. And I was maybe a foot away holding her, looking up at them in the darkness, waiting to see what they were going to do. But for some reason, the couple didn't look down. They didn't look around. They just turned and left. And so that was it. That was the time I got caught. And so it turned out the guy, they had come in contact with Ted Bundy, like one of the most infamous serial killers of all time, who effectively said, had he investigated, he would have had to kill the couple. It's great. So they got their first date was running into Ted Bundy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And actually, if you're interested, there's several other close calls with Ted Bundy that if you Google close calls with Ted Bundy, he came close to killing people several times. And it's, I don't have those.
The VW Beetle? There was something with the VW Beetle?
I forget what it was. Unfortunately, I don't remember all of the anecdotes, but there's quite a few that are that one is the most startling because it's so like visceral what happened. But the others were, this girl who almost went on a date with Ted Bundy, but then got a bad feeling about it and canceled. And it like the day later he gets arrested for being Ted Bundy. Stuff like, or one person who Ted Bundy randomly befriended this woman, and I think they were dating for a while, and he was very close with her child. And it was, he's like in their family while he's killing other people at the same time. And then he just broke up with her and moved on. Like he didn't do anything to her or her family while he's actively killing all these women. But for some reason, he just had this normal family, happy, wholesome relationship with this girl for like a year. And she would find out after he was executed that she was actively dating a serial killer. So it's just, Ted Bundy had all these weird interactions with people that have been documented. But that one, to me, is the most startling.